Absolutely. Now, Sting defeated Ric Flair to get a chance to take on Hulk Hogan at Bound for Glory coming up very soon. Sting, of course, going nuts these past few weeks. Now, I don't know. There's one question I have to ask. Have you seen him and what he's up to? I've said before he's acting like a jabroni, but this week for some reason I've found the Sting performance more interesting than ever. I think it's because he's going on to take Hogan, maybe.
Right. Well, the last I heard, I think, was the last time we were on, maybe, and you were telling me that there was some deal with Flair and Sting going to happen. Was it Flair and Sting for Bound for Glory? Is that the deal?
Well, now we're looking at Sting v Hogan.
Oh, Sting Hogan, right. It's not going to be a Matt Classic, I suppose, at this stage. I do remember tuning into it when they were in a different location that wasn't the Impact Zone for a couple of minutes recently. The last couple of weeks, that's the last I saw, but it was a bit, so it didn't last too long. But besides that, I have no clue what's going on. Sting, Hogan, they've done it before though, haven't they? WCW days?
Absolutely. I think it's happened once or twice. As I say, I'd be hesitant to remember exactly when, but you know for a fact that it's probably been done to death before, and well, they're probably going to continue it on now. But watching it this week, I kind of realised something as I saw Sting come out to the ring, where it's actually about watching car crash TV now. It's not so much that you're kind of waiting for the goodness, you don't really expect any, but it's all about now seeing what in the name of God are they going to do next. And they certainly have been troweling it on by the shovel load each and every week. Hogan still with those angry facials and kind of pissed, if you like, with Sting. And of course that's going to be the programme for a couple of more weeks to come. Other than that, there is things going on TNA. It's not that bad. But have you noticed how bad their beatdowns are? Why are they so ridiculous?
Well, from past memory, they just dragged the absolute arse out of them, as they say over here. Especially the backstage ones. The Abyss ones are probably classic week in, week out. I don't know if that's an inside shoot. Actually, there's been a lot of inside shoot, I think, from the E there as well, with some bits and pieces that were quite funny. I can't remember what's out of my head, but there was definitely a couple that I laughed out loud at. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, they were infamous for the old beatdowns. Janice always came into play for longer than she should have. It should have. Those were the days that made us turn off, unfortunately. So, yeah, maybe it's time to tune in again, I suppose, now that we're back on the air.
There's certainly stuff coming up. Of course, you've got that October 26th TV taping in Georgia. Always good when they get out of that Impact Zone. So again, I think another good reason to get back into the program and start maybe following it week on week. I've been the worst culprit for not bothering, and I think now is coming the time where actually I'm interested again. I kind of want to become an actual fan again of every part of it, the in-ring action and all that kind of stuff. I know it's trying to find a diamond in the rough when it comes to TNA, but again, I think it's something that sooner or later it's going to be gone, and I'm kind of worried that I'll kind of have missed out on what was an alternative, because of course if they go away, I think that alternative is dead forever, really, isn't it?
That's a good point, I suppose. Where and Flair, is he in the picture at all, or is he even on TV, or what's his deal?
He has recently, well, suffered when he got injured due to that match. Apparently there was some kind of torn something or other, according to the dirt sheets. But yeah, I mean, he's going to probably be gone for a while. But imagine him being a feeder talent for Hogan.
I know, it's crazy at this stage. I did read on the dirt sheets that Hogan was talking about hanging the boots up.
Bit of an internet connection problem, I think, on one of our sides here. We'll see does it pick up, but yeah, I think it's redialing there, so let's give that a go. and we'll reconnect. Bear with us as we experiment with this live. And indeed, I think Stephen is back there with us. I can hear you.
Yeah, slight drop out, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of drop out again. You know, we're going to figure this out week by week and see how it all works. But overall, I mean, we got a nice stable 40 minutes there, so I do think it works. But I think we'll have to figure out how much bandwidth can be used and how much can't really. But as I say, I think people in the room bearing with us at this point. But no video right now. Maybe you can click the My Video bit when you get a chance.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to have a quick look at that chat room and see what's going on in there. Fire Soul, I physically can't watch TNA every week. And Seamus Ireland says the angle for next week, but he isn't retiring. And Fire Soul says I only ever watch it if I can't get to sleep. Also Dave Birmingham UK in the room. I guess that it will be Mark Henry versus Jerry on Raw after what happened with him last Monday. And Matty, Sting v Hogan hurts it big time for me. AJ v Daniels, RVD v Lynn, Full Metal Mayhem, Bobby Roode v Angle, all still good. And of course that's another interesting thing that we've got, as I saw this week, again new to me because I haven't been keeping up to date with it, but it's Robert Roode actually making his way into the title picture now and shooting with Angle.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. That's quite. Have you got me back video-wise there, actually?
I haven't quite yet. Again, let me just click if I can. It kind of did a bit of a reconnect, and I think that's what I'll reconnect and video call. So what I'll do is just quickly do that and see if we can get Stephen back here. Kind of happy to have that initial. Now we have you back, and I think your video about to start. So yeah, back in business. We can continue to talk about TNA. Now I know for a fact it's not been easy for you to keep up with TNA. As I've always said, I haven't been keeping up with it, and I am kind of springing this topic on you, but just to go through some of the stuff, because I saw it this week and I thought you're going to like this. And I've kind of felt like somehow it's making its way back to being a kind of a stable program, not this kind of stuff where it's all over the place. It seems a bit more logical now.
Yeah, maybe I will go and check it out. Was it Impact Zone, or were they out and about this week?
Well, it was Impact, but as I say, just finding out now they're going to Georgia in a couple of weeks' time.
The good old stomping ground, huh? Yeah, no, I will. I'll start. I'm mad for this new Ring of Honor deal as well, just to see where it goes. I think it'll be quite funny. So yeah, I'll have a lot on this week. I'll have the whole, and Superstars too, not forgetting that one. So I'll get back into my Impact. Actually, the FCW stuff is pretty funny. You should, I should send some deal up there to the HQ.
Absolutely.
You'd enjoy it. You get a kick out of it.
Because it is almost a rebirth. Maybe we need to go back to the original days of WrestleDope, as many would know. Maybe Fire Soul 86, he'd remember. We used to talk a lot about the Florida Championship Wrestling and all that, and it was entertaining back then. Of course, back then we had people like AJ Lee breaking through, and of course even the Usos hadn't actually made it to TV. So it is always entertaining and actually educational to watch this. You know who's coming up in the future, if you like.
Speaking of the Usos, I don't know if we've ever addressed this on the dope, but do you not think that it's a little bit odd that they come out and they do that Haka thing? Stop me now if you've heard this one already. But the Haka deal, so legit, and then they break into the hippity hop. I mean, it's a bit contradictory, if anything. Do you think? Or am I on my own with that one?
Well, I mean, I don't like the Haka thing. I was never a rugby fan. You can imagine Vince maybe saw something like the Rugby World Cup sometime and probably thought, well, look, that would be good on TV. Maybe it was those guys actually who maybe put that idea forward. Of course, on the programme, you've seen them sort of being buried where they had their initial push alongside Tamina. Tamina then at one point was getting more airtime than they were. But what you asked, I mean, regarding those hackers, I mean, I just can't buy them. I think they're a little bit ridiculous. It kind of highlights them in a bad way to see them come out on that stage. To me, it's not the best.
I know it's not that I don't dislike the hacker thing. Maybe if they had the hacker into like some sort of Samoan tribal drum theme tune or something. It's just when it breaks into the kind of the gangster rap or whatever.
Right.
It's like two gimmicks kind of bouncing off each other. That I don't know. It just doesn't. I suppose they're kind of they talk kind of gangster for a bunch of Samoans. So maybe that's the kind of the shtick, Samoan gangsters or something.
I think it's very accurate. I missed the point there, as you say, about the kind of break into the hip-hop side of it. That is where it loses the bit of credibility. And actually, that's what we were saying, I think, when those guys were originally introduced to the product, was why were you going to hand them the crime time gimmick that had just been discarded? And for some reason, they like to keep that little bit of hippie-hoppy around them. Maybe they just don't buy them as kind of traditional Samoan characters. Of course, we've heard that argument before, and why maybe as Samoans perhaps people don't want to see these tribal stereotypes and things like that as being the kind of focus of the gimmick. And maybe I think we were told that a lot of the Samoans maybe were happy to see these guys portrayed as modern characters and not savages, if you like.
Yeah, I think we've pulled that one apart, I suppose, at this stage, haven't we? Still just I don't know, it's just a bit odd. It's just a bit odd.
It is indeed. Now, you know, we could talk many different things. Of course, we've gone through TNA. There are one or two other things that I think might be of interest. For example, this whole X Division thing. I'm not sure how long ago this came in, but now apparently the rule exists where you have to be under 225 pounds in order to qualify for the X Division. So maybe that's the end of the guys like Matt Morgan and Douglas Williams getting those belts.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Absolutely.
Who's the X Division champ these days?
Well, it is none other than Austin Aries, actually.
Austin Aries, huh? Yeah. Well, we'll talk about him some other day, maybe.
Absolutely. I decided this week that I'd go in and do a bit of the Impact study, if you like, and it's not fun. You know, it's not entertainment to sit there and absorb that program. You almost do it out of a kind of a, as I said earlier, I don't want to see it slip away and say to myself, right, I missed 3 years of that.
Yeah. Well, last time I watched Impact there, Aries was doing the what do they call it, where they had your man Dakota and a couple of the other, they were trying to introduce, somebody was looking for a contract in the X Division side of things, and Aries, I don't know if he must have wondered if he's the one that's still there, but that's about the last time, I'll tell you, that I watched properly. So God knows, he's the X Division champion now, yeah?
Indeed he is.
That was a quick rise, in fairness to him. You know, I suppose the other thing is, what did they do with the, what was that other belt that they had? It was kind of like, was it the Legends title?
The Legends title, yes.
Is that thing still knocking around, or?
I think it's disappeared now. I mean, the last time, I remember some time with Booker and AJ perhaps with that belt, but yeah, it disappeared. It morphed into something else, didn't it?
It's been a while. God knows.
We'll certainly have those answers in the chat room. As I know, a lot of them have continued watching. I know a lot of the guys in the room have had trouble as well, but it is the TV title. I was going to say it, but indeed, Sheamus Ireland reminding us of that. So at least they've got something like that. Another little nod to WCW. And again, as I say, getting back into TNA, not the easiest of things. But Captain Charisma says, my interest in wrestling is poor. I only like watching critiques and reviews. And I was worried recently that I might get to that point where you might even just read the synopsis. And it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. Did you need to see Air Boom taking on whoever,
Well, you know as well as I do, for many years we both kind of did it. There was a good chunk of time where I definitely just read dirt sheets to get my fix. And even the last couple of weeks with all the changes and moves around, they kind of kept me up to date for the most part. Kind of skimmed through most of the programming, to be honest. But made a bit of effort, I suppose, with the Raws and whatever. But maybe I'll take your advice on board and watch Impact if it is come back to the good old heydays of TNA, and maybe next week I can give my thoughts properly on that one. So apologies for the TNA fans, I suppose, this week if it's a bit lackluster on the old TNA reporting.
And of course, another interesting factor is finally, after months, maybe weeks of speculation, we saw the return of Jeff Hardy. At least he's around the building, if anything, and you see him talking to the likes of Al Snow, actually giving him a little bit of advice there this week and telling him that mistakes can be made and that everybody can do right in the end. So Hardy coming back, I thought it was interesting how they said stuff like have all the boys given you the cold shoulder, etc., and he kind of worked that had been the case. Of course, since we last spoke, Matt Hardy has actually become the problem child in that.
Nice way to put it. Christ, yeah. Some issues there. I suppose when he was fired, right? Wasn't he fired from TNA because of the whole drunk driving, drug taking, acted the maggot kind of deal, wasn't it?
Indeed.
That the case?
He's racking up those DWIs now.
He's gone bonzo, actually, old Hardy. But I suppose you would kind of get rid of him if that's the case, especially with the kind of attention Jeff probably brought to TNA with his mishaps. I think Matt Hardy's probably just gone off the rails a little bit. He knows he's pretty much screwed for the most part. If he's gone from the E, they certainly won't take him back, I'm sure. And TNA, big time messed up there, so what do? YouTube for a guy like that, it's kind of like last resort stuff, really, isn't it?
It is. Matt has lost more or less a lot of his fan support. I know there are die-hard Hardy fans that really will stick with him whether or not they do good or bad. A guy like Jeff now walking back into the company, and on the other side of things you've got Matt, who some have been calling Meth Hardy, really going the complete opposite way. Now, at one point back in the SmackDown days, it looked like Matt Hardy was the good guy out of that pair, and that maybe he wasn't involved in the various things that are now being alleged, but it seems like they were one and the same. They were all doing the exact same things according to reports.
Oh yeah, without doubt, and I'm sure their hangers-on and friends who also run certain shows are very much in the same boat as the two boys. They all seem to be kind of, I don't know, come into some sort of bad luck, I suppose, recently, the whole lot of them. But I don't know, is Jeff back on the mend full-time? Have you seen, has he been on the TV and all that, yeah?
He has, as I say, a little bit backstage, not anything in the way of wrestling yet. And as it's been said, you're going to have to go back to a company now where people think you shat on the company, and that basically when he showed up at that pay-per-view, taking on Sting that time, that more or less, you know, he disrespected the company. Sure, maybe a lot of those younger guys are pissed, but is he the right guy to be pissed with? Maybe not. It would be interesting to know how he actually stayed in the company when there's supposedly testing. Now, I don't know too much about the whole TNA drug testing side of things. Have you ever heard anything?
Well, yeah, I think they're very much more relaxed than the E, and although they do them, maybe not as frequent as they do with the E. But I'm sure they definitely get away with a hell of a lot more as regards to the stuff that isn't as harsh, I suppose. Maybe a bit of, you know, tokaru, and that is probably, you know, fairly okay, I'm sure, with a lot of the peeps there. And probably a bit more too, I'd imagine, by the looks of some of them most of the time. Yeah, it's fair play, I suppose, to Jeff Hardy. I mean, I think he was lucky in a way he didn't get banged up for you know, a serious amount of years with all that stuff. But yeah, on the occasions we met him, not that he's been to Dope HQ, but he's always pretty cool. I think he's probably a decent guy underneath it all, you know. Not to write him off just because of his habits and all that, but Matt was never the biggest fan. He was a bit on the Jabron side, I think, for the most time.
Of course, I think one of our most popular videos on the YouTube is indeed that fans chant CM Punk at Jeff Hardy shoot. Now, I'm starting to feel somewhat guilty. I know we've talked about this, but with a guy like Jeff now trying to maybe repair his life, it's a hefty comment board for that video. A lot of different opinions on Jeff and what people think of his various antics in TNA. But do you think it's time to maybe pull that one now, or should it be left up? I must note actually somebody has taken it and re-uploaded it as well.
Really?
Yeah, that's the first time that's happened, but indeed, obviously they wanted it that much that they stuck it up. But of course the best thing about it is the .com address still on there, so it's still being claimed, if you like. But maybe it is time to get rid of that and let Jeff move on. You're watching WrestleDope here on justin.tv/WrestleDope Radio. And as you can see, both of us now in two different places. This is what we're going to be doing going forward. We've got plenty still to come. Every time I try and point towards the other window, I'm that stupid that I just don't point the right way. But I've now done that. I think it's all this kind of spatial relations with Skype video and all that. But nicely working so far. So let's talk to everybody in the chat room. And as I say, bear with us on YouTube this week if indeed a little bit of chop and changing on the camera and all that. We're getting used to this new deal with both of us, as I say, in different places. Seamus Ireland says Jeff Hardy is in jail and Matt Hardy is in rehab, I swear. CCKK, welcome back to you. It never lets me join the channel. It always says it's overloaded. I wonder why. Maybe a lot of viewers. Is that what we have? RB Times, I hope he cleans up his act. He has been a joke the last few years. And of course, Seamus reminding me there was in fact a 10-day jail sentence is what he actually got. After all that discussion, can you remember how many times we talked about that and said any minute now he's going to get this mad sentence, it's going to be 10 years, you know?
He's going to 10 days is nothing when you think about it. I suppose, you know, for all that, I'm sure he must have got some sort of fine as well, though. Did he?
Probably, yeah.
Slap on the wrist, maybe. You see, you got to remember where he is as well. Those Carolinas, I'm sure a lot of the cops probably said, "That's Jeff Hardy," and you know, being a wrestling state or states, whatever you call them, I'm sure you know, they took it easy enough on the poor guy. So all the better to him.